I played every Harry Potter game ever made, taking a trip into the magical world of witchcraft and wizardry, starting all the way back in 2001. 2001, the year the first Harry Potter movie released. So if, like me, you were expecting this Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone to be the first Harry Potter game released, well, you would be wrong. The first Harry Potter game ever released was actually LEGO creator Harry Potter, technically LEGO's first game based on a franchise. Now, this is a really early LEGO game, so they'd yet to figure out the LEGO formula that they would use for future LEGO Harry Potter games. Instead, the game lets you create and customize iconic locations from the Harry Potter universe, such as Diagon Alley, King's Cross train station, and Hogwarts. Also, the second Harry Potter game ever made was a direct sequel to this game, but instead of being based on the Philosopher's Stone, it was based on the Chamber of Secrets. These games were fine, a little outdated, but you can see that this was the start of LEGO finding that formula I spoke about earlier, which they'd eventually use on like every game ever made. I actually just made a video of me playing every LEGO game, and there I went into way more detail about these games, so I'll just put a link to that in the description. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, released on the 16th of November 2001, or for you Americans watching, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Now, I played the PS1 and PS2 versions of this game, but I do know that this game was released for the Game Boy as well. And you're probably wondering, why did I play two versions of the same game? Well, you see the walls in the PS1 version, specifically the way they wiggle and wobble, well, that nearly made me throw up, and that's not a joke. After playing 30 minutes of this game, I ended up looking like this, which is a massive shame, because the PS1 version had some of the worst, but also just the funniest character models in any game I've ever played. A mix between terrifying and hilarious, and after switching to the PS2 version and seeing the perfect character models in this version, it kind of made me miss the monstrosity that this is. But forcing myself to get motion sickness just to look at funny character designs would have been just absurd. So mostly I played the PS2 version, which follows not only the movie but the books. And I will say this game did a pretty good job at capturing the magical feel of Harry Potter. It's mostly a 3D platformer, which for the time that this game released made a lot of sense. I mean, the most popular games at that time were 3D platformers. And even though I may not be able to sleep tonight due to the character designs in the PlayStation 1 version, the fact they tried to make a fully explorable Hogwarts on the not-so-powerful PlayStation 1 just deserves a lot of praise. This game was fun, and the fact it is nowhere near the worst Harry Potter game after nearly making me throw up means we have some awful games coming up. Harry Potter and the Chambers of Secrets, released on the 5th of November 2002, and is a direct sequel to the Philosopher's Stone. And I don't mean that because it's based on the sequel movie, but this game looked and played pretty much exactly the same as the first game, bar a new spell or two. But unfortunately, it wasn't released on older consoles like the PlayStation 1, so there is no cursed character designs here. But the Chamber of Secrets expands on everything the first game did. We get to explore more locations from the books and movies like Diagon Alley and the Weasley Burrow. You can even explore certain shops in Diagon Alley like Flourish and Blots and Madame Malkin's robes, which for an older game like this was pretty sick. Though I do kind of wish that the game opened with a mission of you flying the car like the movie. I feel like they could have done some cool things with that, but I'm not a game designer, so that probably was impossible for the PlayStation 2. But it would have been pretty cool. Instead, the game starts with us already at the Weasley Burrow, and I don't know who these little monsters are in the tutorial, but why are we doing them like this? Like these poor little guys. Imagine you're just minding your own business, and the next thing you know, Harry Potter is picking you up and throwing you like a damn discus throw. You just know that their friends aren't going to believe them about this. We also fight a washing machine in the tutorial to get revenge on the amount of times your mother got stuck in there. Okay, that was just rude. I'm sorry. But overall, this game was really similar to the Philosopher's Stone, except we got the From Software boss fight, baby. Curse, Rotted Greatwood ain't got shit no Whomping Willow. But apart from the random Dark Souls boss fight and being able to explore more areas in the Hogwarts ground and the inclusion of Diagon Alley, this game just did feel like the Philosopher's Stone, just with a different story, which, let me just say, isn't a bad thing. These two games capture the Harry Potter feel really well and were a lot of fun. Quidditch World Cup, released on the 28th of October 2003, and is essentially a Quidditch sports game, and I'm gonna be straightforward with this game. It lacked a lot of content. Now, I know it's an older game, but I really couldn't see myself now or even when I was a kid playing this game for longer than 10 minutes. Not that this game was bad, because it wasn't. Overall, the game was really well made, but there's just not a lot here. But I also understand you could essentially say that about every sports game ever made. If you don't really like the sport the game is based off, it will eventually get boring. I did find it kind of cool that not only can you play as the Hogwarts houses like Gryffindor and Slytherin, Slytherin, but also the international teams. Like, I played a game of England versus USA in Quidditch. That's just pretty cool. The gameplay was fine, it was pretty easy, but for a Quidditch game, it did as much as it possibly could with the time that this game was released. Now, I didn't love this game, but I also just didn't hate it. It just sits in the middle ground for me. It was fun for 10 minutes, and then I got kind of bored of it. Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, released on the 29th of May 2004. And growing up, I was absolutely terrified of this movie. Wait, let me just rephrase that. Dementors. I was absolutely terrified of Dementors. Some say they are the final form of Asmongold, but you know, that's just a rumor. The game opens with the same way the movie does, with Harry being attacked by Dementors on his way to Hogwarts, giving Ron some definite PTSD after saving Harry. I mean, just look at the situation Ron is in. The poor guy is never going to be able to sleep again. Hogwarts in this game was nearly perfect. It really felt like that when you were exploring, you were walking around places you saw in the movies, even though the games that came before did a pretty good job at that too. But this one just took it to another level. There was also a pretty big mechanic added that let you switch between characters with just one click. There was no loading screens, just instant switch, which even GTA 5 couldn't do 10 years later. Now, I like Ron in movies and the past games, but for some reason in this game, he might be the most annoying video game character of all time. And no, I'm not saying that because he's ginger.
I'm redheaded, and I'm proud of it. Alright?
But for the fact he does not shut up. The tutorial even lets you test your spells out on him. Now, I don't know if ginger abuse is a thing, but if it is, lock me up and throw away the key because I was abusing the hell out of this man. Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, released on the 8th of November 2005. And one thing that was pretty cool about this game is when you start it up, it lets you pick who you'd like to play for each mission between slightly confused Ron Weasley, Hermione Granger, and Harry Potter cosplaying as Nico Bellic for some reason.
Where's Barbara with big and Stephanie who sucks like a vacuum?
What are you talking about?
I never really understood why even in the movies, they just randomly started dressing like Eastern Europeans. It was just really weird. Okay, so I know this is where the Harry Potter movies got a lot darker, but I just really hated the dark and grungy feel of Hogwarts in this game. It really lost the magical feel of the earlier games and just getting rid of the bright warm feel of Hogwarts for this. Now, I don't know which one of these you'd prefer to play, but I can tell you right now, the one on the right just feels more like Harry Potter to me. The game only consists of like 9 levels, and that's including the first few levels in which they repeat the same level just with different spells. You go from picking these little monsters up to acting like Fireman Sam and blasting them with water. For a game that only has 9 levels, repeating the same level but with different spells is just not a good look. Also, the whole Goblet of Fire aspect is just missing. There is no Goblet of Fire wizard tournament, so I'm just gonna ask, what is even the point of this game? The Goblet of Fire is one of the more interesting Harry Potter movies due to the tournament. But in this game, they just make some levels set in certain areas from the tournament. They even include Ron and Hermione in these levels. I don't know if I forgot this about the movie, but Ron and Hermione didn't participate in this tournament. It's like the developers saw a really cool story and went,
Nah, I'm gonna do my own thing.
What do you mean you're gonna do your own thing?
You do get to do the iconic fight between Harry and he who shall not be named at the end of the game, which was kinda cool, but again, due to this game feeling like a Temu Harry Potter game, even the should be satisfying last fight just ends up being really awkward. And oh my god, is that Batman. Now, the other awful things they did in this game, I can let slide, but look at how they massacred my boy. How are you gonna make Robert Pattinson look like that? But this game was so far easily the worst Harry Potter game, which is a shame because they could have done some cool things based on the story of the Goblet of Fire, but no, we got this. Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, released on the 15th of June 2007, and this is where Harry Potter really goes for that dark and cold theme. It's as if you're editing a photo and set the temperature all the way to cool. That's how these Harry Potter movies and games are from now on. I played the PS3 version of this game, but holy shit, this game released on damn near everything. From PSP to DS to Game Boy Advance to even a damn Nokia. Yeah, a Nokia phone had a Harry Potter game released on it. Spellcasting was massively changed changed in this game, with the game's big gimmick being you casting spells with the right analog stick, instead of using the usual click X to cast a certain spell and circle to cast another. They went for, as I'm going to call it, the skate spell casting, where you flick the right stick in a certain direction to cast different spells, which does make sense. I mean, you flick a wand to do a spell, so this does give a little bit more immersive feel to the spell casting, but I'm not a wizard who has practiced these spells for years, so a lot of the time I would just simply forget how to do anything with the wand. Like, I like the idea, but when you put it into actual gameplay, it's just confusing and took me out of the game. I need to do a certain spell and have to look up which way to flick my wand to do the spell. It was just overall confusing. Hogwarts was one of the worst in the series so far in this game. It was just so dull and gloomy with really bad textures that just made Hogwarts look like a basic castle with no charm that Hogwarts needs to have. None of that magical feel, it was all just grey. I did play a bit of the Game Boy version of this game, which was surprisingly faithful to its big brother. It does the classic Game Boy thing to change on the cutscenes and the slideshows, but overall the game follows the same story and plot points as the PS3 version, which for a Game Boy game was actually pretty impressive. Now, the mobile phone version on the other hand, there was actually 3 different versions of the mobile phone game released. You've got the basic, the mid-tier, and the damn, you have an iPhone in 2007 version. Now, all 3 of these versions have pretty much the same gameplay, with you battling with a directional pad and sneaking around Hogwarts. Now, as I played the PS3 version the most, I'll be deciding my rating and overall opinion on the game on that version, and it's just bad. From the confusing spellcastings to the most boring and dull look at Hogwarts in the series so far. We're getting pretty deep into these games now, so I think it's time for a slight change of scenery. Yeah, this is a bit better. Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, released on the 30th of June 2009, and brings back the skate-like spellcasting, and again, it makes sense, but I just really miss the click X to cast a spell type of gameplay. I had the same issues here that I had with the Order of the Phoenix. There's just no way they expect you to remember the exact way to flick your right analog stick to cast certain spells. Sure, it may be because technically there's more spells in this game than earlier titles, but Hogwarts Legacy had a pretty good fix for that. Much better than hoping you remembered if you had to flick right twice or left twice. The game opens up with Harry at the Weasley Burrow, in which it gives you a small tutorial of broom flying and spell casting, and the only thing I could see while flying around is how awful the environments look. I find it so wild how PS3 era games seem to have aged worse than PS2 or even PS1 era games. Like, this just looks awful. It's just a depressing game to play. Hogwarts once again is bad, with the textures being maybe worse than the Order of the Phoenix. There's also this weird effect when you run in this game, where the whole game zooms into the back of Harry's head, which makes it pretty much impossible to see where you're going and just becomes really disorientating. Like, who really thought that this would be a good idea? There's a dueling segment early on in the game, and I'm gonna be real, as soon as I finished that, I switched the game off. I knew everything I needed to know about this game. It was possibly the stiffest and unfun combat in any video game. It's just so awkward, literally standing there spamming hoping that the enemy doesn't dodge, and that's it. That's the game's combat. It's so sad in the way these Harry Potter games are going. It's so clear that the developers didn't care at all about the franchise and were only in it for a few sales, which makes even more sense when you figure out that these awful Harry Potter games are developed by EA. So to be honest, it's just the classic EA treatment. Lego Harry Potter Years 1 to 4, released on the 25th of June 2010, and covers the first 4 movies in the Harry Potter franchise. And even though it's Lego, finally a switch from the disgusting grey Harry Potter games you've had for a while. This game takes the story and world of Harry Potter and Lego-fies them. Is that even a word? It's probably not, but I'm just gonna call it that. And similar to other franchises Lego choose to make games on, the Harry Potter franchise works so well in Lego, especially the earlier movies. They really brought back that feeling of magic and wonder that has just been missing for so long in Harry Potter games. Years 1 to 4 is the classic Lego go through the story collecting studs, but it's so good. It's so good. As I said at the start of the video, I just did a video of me playing every Lego game, so I'm not gonna dive too deep into this game, but still, even after me playing so many Lego games so recently, I still really enjoyed this game, and it's for sure one of the best Harry Potter games and one of the best Lego games. Okay, so far there's been some absolute bangers mixed with some mediocre games. Goblet of Fire, yeah, I'm talking about you. But this next game completely lost the main reason why people love Harry Potter and is an absolute mess of a game. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1, released on the 16th of November 2010, and this time EA make a switch in the Harry Potter franchise, changing the more open feel of recent and older Harry Potter games and spinning it on its head, making the Deathly Hallows Part 1 a linear Gears of War style third-person shooter with a Harry Potter paint job. Yeah, this game's a third-person shooter. Now, I know the recent games I haven't spoken about too highly, but holy shit, this is the dumbest thing ever. You even have the crouching behind cover that Gears of War is iconic for. And sure, as this is one of the last Harry Potter games building up to a more dueling and fighting theme, it could make sense for the developers to take it this way, but it does just lose everything that made the earlier Harry Potter games special. Like I said earlier, the game is linear, so there is no more exploring, no more finding secrets. Instead, you follow a set path, defeat a few waves of Death Eaters and Snatchers, and carry on. And that gameplay loop is repeated constantly throughout the whole game. I'm almost convinced that every department making this game had a completely different vision for what they wanted this game to be, which ended up with none of them having zero idea about what game they were actually making. So they just mashed it up into this monstrosity. Okay, so let's talk about the elephant in the room, the combat. Fuck it, that's a big elephant, I know. But listen, they completely threw away the skate-like spell casting, which they've been using for the last 2 games. So if you've got used to that finally and learned some spells, that just doesn't matter anymore. Instead, they bring in a spell wheel, kind of similar to the GTA weapon wheel, but most of the spells are completely useless, except Stupefy, which is clearly the best and most overpowered spell in the game. So you'll end up just constantly spamming that, as the other spells aren't even worth casting. At points in this game, I literally would just run past enemies to get through levels quicker, and they seem to not really care. And that's just how much I was done with this game. I thought the Goblet of Fire was bad, but man, this game is absolutely the worst Harry Potter game. As I'm editing this video, I can still not believe they made a Harry Potter third-person shooter. And honestly, this one was just one of the worst gaming experiences in my life. But fortunately, if that didn't make you want to kill yourself in GTA, they made a Part 2. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, released on the 12th of July, and is the final mainline Harry Potter game ever released. And a sequel to whatever the hell the first game was. And luckily, this one is actually better than Part 1, thank God. Slightly. Just slightly better than Part 1. Just like the last game, it's a third-person shooter, but I think this time they kind of had an idea what they wanted to make. Now, it's not good, it's actually pretty bad, but it's not the mess that Part 1 was. The gameplay is essentially the same as the last game, still the dumb Gears of War type combat with you being able to cover behind objects, but this time, the spells actually feel kind of good to cast, and I ended up not just spamming one single button like I'm in a Kai Cenat stream, spamming W while he dances awkwardly, but the combat finally makes you actually want to use different spells and not just Stupefy, which is really good because I was really starting to hear the word Stupefy in my dreams. They completely threw out the GTA-like spell wheel, and now you just press different buttons, similar to the older Harry Potter games, which in my opinion works a lot better than the wheel. There's no more accidentally choosing the wrong spells, which to be fair to the game is a big improvement. There's also a mechanic in this game which if you spam a spell too many times, that spell will get less and less accurate, which I'm guessing they put into the game after most people would just spam the same spell in the last game. But this does give you a reason to switch up what spells you're using to be more efficient in combat. But they really went full third-person shooter in this game, with a spell called Expulso, which is literally just a machine gun. And there's even a spell called Petrificus Totalis, which freezes enemies, but really is just a sniper rifle that you can use from a far distance. Like I told you guys, they went full shooter with this game. And honestly, it's kind of sad that that's how the Harry Potter games end, from a magical start to a wannabe Gears of War finish. But now, with the mainline Harry Potter games finished, do the spin-offs get any better? I guess we'll go find out. Lego Harry Potter Years 5 to 7, released on the 11th of November 2011. And when I tell you this was the most needed breath of fresh air I've ever had, I mean it so much. No more dark, dull, depressing Harry Potter games. Back pops the bright and beautiful Lego feel. And this was like so needed. The game's really similar to Years 1 to 4, but finishes off the Harry Potter story, covering the Order of the Phoenix, the Half-Blood Prince, and both Deathly Hallows. Now, obviously not so much has changed from the earlier Lego Harry Potter game, apart from the story, but it doesn't need to change. The gameplay loop of the Lego games with the magical feel of Harry Potter is just perfect. Do you guys remember the Kinect, the little camera that Xbox tried to force everyone to love, not realizing that technically PlayStation did it first with the iToy? Well, Harry Potter had a Kinect game, and it's possibly the most obscure name for a Kinect Harry Potter game. Harry Potter for Kinect. Yeah, that's the name. Released on the 9th of of October 2012. Now, even though this is one of the most gimmicky Harry Potter games, the concept, I guess, is pretty cool. The game has you brewing potions, casting spells, and really puts you in the Harry Potter world, all using the Kinect camera. Now, the concept is cool, but the Kinect just wasn't the best device. So while mid-battle or midway to making a potion, the Kinect would randomly just lose you. So I had to awkwardly wave my hand around until it finally found me, which did get kind of annoying. The funniest thing about this game is the fact it looks so much better than 90% of the Harry Potter games we've done so far. Like, it actually is a pretty well put together game, and clearly had the most effort put in by the developers. This game was weird and really simple, and actually for what it is, I found it pretty good. A real gimmicky game, but one of the better Harry Potter games, which is crazy to say. Like, how is a Kinect game one of the better Harry Potter games? Wonder Book of Spells, released in 2012, was somewhat similar to the last game, one of the Harry Potter games that I didn't play, because as you can probably tell, I haven't shown my face on YouTube, and with this game being an AR game, that literally only works if you sit in there camera fully on. Yeah, that just wouldn't have worked for me. But the game seems to be similar to the Kinect game, just for PlayStation, unless you do spells that you learn from a book, and that's me guessing, but it seems about right. There was a big era in Harry Potter games in which they released a bunch of mobile games, so I'm gonna run through these games real quick and then get on to the more recent games. How many times can I say games in a 5-second span? Jesus Christ. Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery, released in 2018, and was the first Harry Potter mobile game, if we don't include the weird ports of older games to mobile. But in Hogwarts Mystery, the game lets you create your own character and lets you become a student at Hogwarts, and goes through all 7 years as a student. The game also lets you take part in classes, and includes a bunch of characters from the Harry Potter franchise. The gameplay is pretty simple. Now, I don't know the name of the genre of these games, but essentially you choose between text options which determine your level of courage or empathy. It's just a pretty simple game, but for a mobile game, it was pretty fun. Harry Potter Wizards Unite was the Harry Potter's franchise attempt to cash in on the success of similar games like Pokemon Go. And I remember when this game released, and a lot of people were really excited, but this game got shut down, so clearly the success they were expecting just never happened. So rest in peace to Wizards Unite. Harry Potter Puzzles and Spells was Harry Potter's attempt at a Candy Crush game. Yeah, I actually had to play this for this video. Look at this. I hate these type of games, but it's a Harry Potter game, so I had to play it, and it was fine. I really don't know what to say about this game. And the last Harry Potter mobile game, Harry Potter Magic Awakened, is essentially a card game based around the Harry Potter universe, and I couldn't find much about this game. It seemed to have been fan or snapped out of existence, but looked pretty fun. Okay, so now for the game a lot of you have been waiting for. Hogwarts Legacy, released on the 10th of February 2023, and finally, after years of bad Harry Potter games, we finally have a game that lets us live our childhood fantasy of uncovering secrets as a student at Hogwarts. And when I say this game did everything perfect, I mean it. The game is set 100 years before the movies, so most of the characters we know are not yet at Hogwarts, but seriously, that kind of makes the game better, not having to respect any lore or storylines, just being able to create its own standalone story. And since it's not technically a Harry Potter game, it's more of a Hogwarts game set in the universe of Harry Potter, we get to create our own character, who obviously, similar to Harry Potter, has special abilities, which then leads into us finding a conspiracy. I'm not going to spoil the story too much, but it was really good, but nowhere near as good as Hogwarts looked in this game. This is exactly how I imagine Hogwarts. It's just absolutely stunning. The map is split up into different sections, so it's not even just Hogwarts. Although Hogwarts is just magical, but you get to explore the outer areas of the school as well. Just walking around Hogsmeade or exploring the Hogwarts lakes was absolutely stunning. The world felt so alive, and I haven't felt this highly about a game world since I played Red Dead Redemption 2. That's just how good it is. Now, I'm not saying the world is better than Red Dead Redemption 2, but it just felt alive, especially after you unlock the broom. Holy shit, flying around Hogwarts ground is just beautiful. The combat in this game is also just perfect in my opinion. You get your 4 base spells you can assign to any of the symbol buttons on your controller, like X or triangle, but you also get different layers, where holding R2 opens up another layer of spells you can use. It just felt so smooth. No skate controls, no spell wheel, just hold one button and boom, you have all your spells there ready to cast, which after the messes of the recent Harry Potter games was so nice to finally have a simple and responsive dueling system. And the animations when you're dueling just look so smooth. You even get to go full Newt Scamander and collect fantastic beasts that you get to look after in your vivarium. Like, that's a small side edition of this game, but the gameplay there is still so deep and has a lot of gameplay elements. And I know I've talked highly of this game, but I really think it deserves it. Finally, Harry Potter got the AAA treatment that this universe really deserves. And after the success of this game, and with the announcement that Hogwarts Legacy 2 is in full development, I'm really excited to see what they can do with the second one. And here we are, the final Harry Potter game up until now, Harry Potter Quidditch Champions, released on the 3rd of September 2024, and the second Harry Potter Quidditch game, with the last one releasing all the way back in 2003 with Quidditch World Cup. And while I was playing Hogwarts Legacy and the whole excuse for no Quidditch in that game, that could have been a big letdown, but then they released a full-blown Quidditch game the next year that had me quite excited. But similar to Quidditch World Cup, I just really didn't enjoy this game. I guess I'm just not that much of an enjoyer of Quidditch or something, because similar to the last Quidditch game, after around 2 matches of Quidditch, I was ready to sleep. Now, this game in my opinion was a lot better than Quidditch World Cup. It had a lot more game elements like drifts and evading, but still, it just didn't hit for me. One of the best things about this game was actually the fact they made Hagrid a PS1 skin, which, to be fair to the game, is hilarious. But I couldn't save how I feel about Quidditch games. I just don't think the sport translates well to a video game. But there we go. Every Harry Potter game ever made. This was a really fun video to make, and I hope you all enjoyed. And I just want to say, shout out to all my members that have recently joined. Thank you all for joining. It means a lot. And I'll see you in the next one.